Columbia University is in the national spotlight after accusations of anti-Semitism on campus have prompted the Trump administration to take action. Our next guest says his own speech and religious beliefs are being attacked by Columbia officials. Here's the catch: he's a conservative and a Catholic. Daniel DiMartino is a doctoral student at Columbia. Last week, he penned an article detailing how the school's Office of Institutional Equity investigators targeted him over social media posts that espoused his Catholic beliefs, saying the university wants to silence him for, quote, stating the simple truth that men cannot become women.
Columbia investigators denied their goal was to discipline him and warned against posts that could create a, quote, hostile environment. Daniel DiMartino, a fellow at the Manhattan Institute and a PhD candidate at Columbia University, joins us now. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me and talking about this.
Yeah, great to be with you, Daniel. And we've had you on before to discuss immigration issues and some other things. And I think, like me, are, very, of course, against anti-Semitism. I'm a little bit skeptical of efforts at the administrative level to, create new boards or bureaucracies that are going to start policing speech on campus, even really hateful speech, because we know where that leads to them, going after just policing people for wrongthink. It seems to be this is a case of that. Why don't you explain exactly in detail what happened to you?
Well, let me say, what happens at Columbia is that this is a university that is ruled by people who hate conservatives. That is the reality. That is who staffs the administration of most major universities. And what happened was that I simply received an email a few weeks ago, last month, where they told me that I had been reported for something that could be what they call discriminatory harassment. You read their policy, that essentially means anything that could make somebody feel uncomfortable. And I immediately thought that it was on my social media post. I agreed to meet with them. I met with them. And then these three ladies who work for the Office of Institutional Equity, appropriately named for, it's kind of like the new DEI office. And then they told me that it was about my ex posts. Where essentially all of them but one were about the belief that men cannot become women or women can become men. I do not believe in transgenderism. I am opposed to that for, biological and religious reasons. And a lot of them were related to my religious beliefs, meaning what God teaches or not, right? I said defending Vice President Vance and President Trump, who after inauguration were lectured by this Protestant pastor, telling them to be compassionate and transgender people. And I simply said, God does not teach us that we can change our gender. They thought that was a hateful post, where I think that's simply my religion. I am not yelling at anyone. I am not doing anything illegal. And it seems like Columbia is more focused on going after people like me than going after actual people who are doing illegal acts at Columbia, protesting, occupying the campus, and doing anti-Semitic harassment.
Daniel, one of the things that I'm curious if Columbia brought this up during their investigation with you, but you have been outspoken saying that immigrants with facial tattoos who look like criminals should be screened more carefully. You've said that's not discriminatory, but then said in a different interview, we need some more discrimination. Which way is it? And did Columbia bring that up? And is that what they're really honing in on as well?
Yeah, that was one of the tweets. It was really just like the last one of all the ones that they showed me. They showed me about 15, 12, something like that. And, not all discrimination is wrong. I mean, you discriminate against criminals and you put them in prison. And the U.S. government, law enforcement, has a list of tattoos that indicate gang affiliation, and those people need to be screened. And some of them are excludable just by their tattoos. I think that's totally fine. And if the Biden administration had screened people more carefully because of their tattoos, maybe they wouldn't have let in as many criminals. And I think that's a totally legitimate opinion to have, whether somebody disagrees or agrees with me.
Well, Daniel, just to push back on that, somebody could have a tattoo when they were a former gang member and now they've changed around their lives. They may still have that tattoo. You would say still screen them more carefully, still discriminate against them? What if they were your brother or somebody that you knew? Would you still feel that way?
Yes, absolutely. If somebody used to be a gang member, they should be screened more carefully to immigrate to any country, or perhaps even not allowed to.
Even if they've changed their life?
This is already the law, by the way. I am not saying anything that is a proposal. This is already the law.
But even if they've changed their life, and they've reformed, they're now maybe even a professor somewhere, you would say still you need to screen them more
I am
carefully?
just telling you, the law right now means that if you were a member of a terrorist organization or a gang, and by the way, MS-13 was declared a terrorist organization now, you are excludable from the United States for immigration purposes. That is the law.
Right, but you can't always tell that, my point is, from the tattoo.
Well, but we're saying excludable
I'm not
means
saying either just from the tattoo, but I'm saying that that's one of the indications, and that's the indication for any law enforcement agency. And
Right,
I think
believe
that's
that's what
totally
you
common
tweeted,
sense.
though.
But we're getting into the merits of my argument, which I think is amazing, and you have totally the right to disagree. I don't think students should be told, or imagine you were a student and they told you because you disagree with me, your posts are discriminatory and hateful. Of course not. You have total right to disagree with me, just like I have with you. These are totally normal opinions.
right, and debates that should be happening on college campuses of all places. So the idea, I mean, I'm not surprised the administrators did this to you
Right.
at whatsoever because, I've covered these things for like almost 20 years now of officials at college campuses hauling dissenting, people on all sides of the political spectrum, anyone with some kind of contrarian or dissenting view, getting hauled before some board and having to answer for their tweets. So that's not really surprising. What is, I think, interesting about it is this moment in time, the pressure Colombia is facing, including from the Trump administration and from people on the right. And, I'm arguing with people that I've often agreed with or who've said there's, too much persecution of free speech or dissent on college campuses. And I'm saying, well, okay, but you want to set up a board or a task force to police whatever it is, anti-Semitic speech. But the people doing that are going to be these same people who hold conservatives in utter contempt. And, right, so like the very do something more about hateful speech on campus. That mandate in practice is Daniel Martino gets hauled before some board to ask questions about his Catholic. Right?
Well, my concern here is the problem isn't necessarily speech, it's about actions, right? Colombia did not expel most of the students who occupied the campus. Colombia did not take disciplinary action and is just now trying to take some of it because of funding pressure from the Trump administration. That is a big mistake. And the fact that they do choose to spend their time going after conservatives shows that they really only care about silencing conservatives, not about enforcing the law. Alvin Bragg, the district attorney of Manhattan, did not charge all these criminals who trespassed to occupy private property with crimes. He should have charged them, he should have arrested them, and they should have gone for a trial if they didn't waive that right or declare themselves guilty. That did not happen. We need to enforce those laws. If you want to support whatever other idea and you do it in a respectful way, I don't think that there's any reason the university should hold you before a board for your comments, though.
Where's the investigation now with you, Daniel? Could you just give us some insight? Where did it leave off, and what do you anticipate going forward with them?
You know what's really funny? 2 hours after I published my article, which had been weeks after I had met with them, they sent me an email saying the matter is closed. But then they also said, which I don't know where they got this from, please do not disclose. You're not allowed to disclose any information that you obtain in the process of this hearing. I'm sorry, but I did not sign an NDA with you, and I am going to say what I believe in, and this is not something anybody can tell me.
I love that these are supposedly, this is one of the most prestigious institutions in the country, highly educated, legally literate people. They all say, oh yeah, you can't disclose this to anyone. What are you talking about? Right? You didn't sign any kind of agreement on that. Utterly farcical.
Yeah, no, they think they are the government,
yeah.
and they just really hate religious people. They hate conservatives, and they also, and I don't like this phrase very much on how it's used, but they don't know what time it is, Robbie. They don't understand that this is the worst time in U.S. history, perhaps, for a university to go after conservative students, to go after religious students. This administration has rightfully made its policy to defend conservatives on college campuses, to defend Christians, and it is not okay for universities to discriminate against Christians and conservatives like they have for so many years.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Nancy Mace facing fierce backlash after posting a video of herself cursing and ranting at a constituent in a store over the weekend in the makeup aisle of all places. That's up next.